Good afternoon. It is me, the commissioner of Warrenton's finest fantasy football league, Jeff Darling. It is a pleasure to be with you here, recapping week 2 of the NFL. Who can believe that it's already been 2 weeks of glorious football? I wanted to get into a quick recap of week 2 before we look ahead to this coming week. We had some pretty exciting games that occurred. We'll start off, let's just go to the highlights here. I'd love to point out a couple of teams that did really well. The first of which is my own team, the Dallas Jeff Boys. Little surprise here, starting the season undefeated, 2-0. But let's take a look at the matchup. How was it supposed to go? The projection was the Dallas Jeff Boys were to beat Team Queen by just 2 points. What actually ended up happening was a total of the Dallas Jeff Boys scoring 136.96 to the Queen's 110.8. 110.8, not a shabby score. In fact, higher than projected. But the big downfall, in fact, a recurring theme that we'll see here is the word regret. A regret about trusting Tom Brady over Tua Tagovailoa on the Dolphins. Now, everyone would have made that same starting choice, Hannah, so don't feel bad. But you have to wonder what would have happened. In fact, you don't have to wonder. All you have to do is look at the points. Brady got her 10 points, not even, 9.4 on the bench, sitting a beautiful 41.86 from Tua. Now that just brings you to this next week, Hannah. What do? Do you stick with Brady? Do you go to Tua? If you start Brady again? So many questions. But that was the first matchup. The next matchup we had was Uncle Touchdown going against Team Touchdown. Now here's an interesting thing. Team Uncle Touchdown actually scored just 1 point lower than the projection. It's very rare to see a projection and a final score end up basically the same. Unfortunately for him, Dan's team, or should I say 2 people on his team, lived it out. Lamar Jackson, 48.6 points, and Stephon Diggs, 39.8. Between the two of them, they had 88 of his 126, which means the rest of his team contributed to only 36 points. Ridiculous. Dan got lucky. Otherwise, that could have been a blowout for Team Uncle Touchdown. Sorry, Sean. You have to do better next week. Moving on, you have the Weasel going against a pretty average team. And speaking of pretty average, both teams did way below the projected total. The Weasel only scored 80.9 points compared to the average team's 92.9. Both were about 20 to 30 points lower than their projected total. You hate to see it, but I hope Jason continues it against me next week. Next up, we had Greg, the Wanakee Squirrel Salads, going against Gone Fishing. Now, the thing about doing a video in which you brag and call someone out, you gotta back it up. Greg, and your team did not. They pooped the bed. Unfortunately for you, Team Gone Fishing, Jalen Hurts, 35 points. Amon-Ra, St. Brown, I'm going to go watch The Mummy now. He had 35.9 points. And you have 2 people scoring 70, and Greg, your team only has 89 total. Chances are you're probably going to lose. Great performance there by Gone Fishing. Next up, we had the bye week versus World Cup. The 2 basement dwellers. I called you guys out very harshly in my week 1 recap. And Team Cup, not only did you respond, you had the highest scoring team out of all teams, scoring a whopping 149.86 points. You would have beaten every single team that played this week. Brandon, unfortunately for you, you not only have had the lowest scoring team both weeks, but you've also had the most points put up against you. And that's not a blame on your fantasy defense, although starting the Packers defense certainly, actually that was one of your better moves, but just unfortunate for you that you went up against the highest scoring team, 113. You would have beaten plenty of other teams this week, but unfortunately, that's just how fantasy works. But man, what a performance by Jalen Waddle. That's just a funny name. And then Aaron Jones on Green Bay, 2 players with 30, and Nick Chubb, 30 points. That 3 players for Michael, that equaled 90 plus points. It's insane. What are you supposed to do against that? Lose, I guess, Brandon, right? Next up, we had the defending league champ. I can only call you this so many more times, Mike, but you did bounce back from the opening week loss. Congratulations, beating Team Cruise 109.28 to Just Cruising 73.56. Just Cruising cruised into a solid loss. In fact, your defense got you -1 point. Your kicker got you 1 point, netting you a total of 0 points. You may want to take a look at that going into your next week's matchup. That's a recap of week 2. As we look ahead to week 3, Let me just see if I can find that real quick. Probably not. Oh, baby. This next week, we've got your pretty average team going up against the Dallas Jeff Boys. Projected total, Jason's slated to win 111 to 106. We'll see if Patrick Mahomes continues to light it up, and we'll see if what's his name? Herbert. What's his first name? It's a J. Josh? Probably. He's white, so probably Josh. Let's see if he's fractured ribs, if he can keep playing. Oh, I need to restart my music. Then we got Team Queen going against Team Touchdown. Right now, Dan's slated to win 109 to 103. Tom Brady or Tua? What are you going to do, Hannah? The world wants to know. Next up, we got the Weasel against Uncle Touchdown. A projection of Sean beating Paul at 108 to 104. We got the number 1 pick of the draft in the Weasel. It's the number 2 pick in the draft, Uncle Touchdown. What's better, 1 or 2? Next up, we got Matt of Gone Fishing going up against World Cup. 2 friends in real life, mortal enemies on the fantasy field this week. It looks like Gone Fishing slated to run away with this one, 118 to 103, but we'll see. We'll see if he's gone fishing or if he's gone wishing that he started different people. Next up, Just Cruising going against the Wanaki Squirrel Salads. I believe Greg did another trash talk video. Let's see if the trend continues or that backfires. Currently, Carlos is slated to win 111 to 107. And then finally wrapping it up, these two just go back nearly 2 decades now at this point. Mike of Team Midnight going against Brandon of Bye Week. And this is the closest of the projected totals. We've got Bye Week projected 103.8 and Team Midnight projected 103.4. Just a 0.4 difference is our margin. Let's see what will happen. I'm very excited to see what occurs. Don't forget, tonight is Thursday Night Football. We got a real exciting game of the Cleveland Browns versus the Pittsburgh Steelers. What a matchup. Jacoby Brissett against Nick Trubisky. Nuts. Sounds like a snooze fest. I think I'll have to go watch the Survivor recap from last night since I fell asleep earlier. Anyway, don't forget to set your lineups, check for injuries, make a trade, reject the trade, have a good time playing fantasy. Peace out.